Good morning. In today's video, I'm going to share a couple of random topics, and I was reminded of them by God this morning, and so I thought, well, I'll do a short little video and address them. The first topic is bliss. With Kundalini, bliss is part of it. It happens after you awaken Kundalini and all 7 chakras have been opened, and you experience the most sublime peacefulness that you can't even imagine it. It's just when it initially happened to me, I was so blissful and ecstatic that it was like being high without drugs. I used to say to people, you got to do Kundalini. It's like being high without drugs. There's no side effect, and you don't have to buy it. But the reality of it is that you really see the world very, very differently, and I saw it so beautifully, and I still see it beautifully, but the dynamic has changed slightly, and that I also see the negative. But initially, I saw the world so beautifully that even the worst person on the planet, I would think was just wonderful. I would just see their inner spirit of God and not really the exterior. And that's good, that's wonderful, except it's also a little dangerous to go through life with rose-colored lenses on, because you can be taken advantage of. And I was taken advantage of by some people. And because of that extreme blissfulness, if they took something from me, I just thought that it was theirs to have. Which it wasn't theirs to have, and they shouldn't have taken it from me, but in that extreme blissful state, without being in any kind of a protective zone, like a monastery or even a home. I didn't I left home at that time. So then the journey begins. Then the whole soul journey starts, and it's like traveling through the wilderness. You go exploring, and you explore the cosmos, and you explore the different dimensions of space and even dimensions of the planet. Now that happens, that feeling lasts for many, many years, and the next dynamic that occurs is what is considered the fall. And I think in the Christian text they refer to it as the fall from heaven. But what it really is, it's not a fall from heaven. It's except that from that blissful state, you do fall literally into your own subconscious. So you fall into the underworld, which is depicted in Egypt with Isis and Osiris. And Osiris is the god of the underworld. And the as above, so below is really incorrect. It is there, but it is different. It is actually the opposite of what is above. And it's like a mirror universe, if you will. Like if you see an ambulance and you read, if you look at the ambulance, I think they've taken that off of many of those vehicles now. They write it backwards, but when you look in your mirror, it's written correctly. So when an ambulance is driving down the road behind you, you can read it, but in the normal, realm, it looks like they wrote the words backwards. So the underworld, your subconscious, is literally the opposite, the mirror universe of life, of the real world, of what you are accustomed to. And so you fall into that, into your own subconscious. And Osiris, the god of the underworld, comes to you and actually takes you there. And so the fall is a psychological feeling of literally like skydiving, of just falling. And it happened to me twice. The first time that it happened, I was with my guide, and it lasted about 12 hours, and I couldn't even be touched. He like touched the back of my shoulder, and I thought I was going to throw up. It was that intense and that dramatic and that awful. The second time I was alone, and it was very mild. It wasn't as bad, but after that, after the fall, then I saw the world completely different, and it changed literally overnight, in a blink of an eye. My best example was Colorado Springs at the south end. It used to be this homeless area, kind of shoddy businesses, hotels renting by the hour, druggies on the street corner. It was really not a very pleasant place to be. And after the fall, it literally just happened overnight. Then suddenly, when I came back to Colorado Springs and I went to the south end, my guide was like, well, let's go there. I'm like, oh no, you don't want to go to that place. But we went there, and it literally was transformed. Now there were reputable stores and Starbucks and California Pizza Kitchen and all these great restaurants, and I couldn't believe it. The homeless had been housed, and there were no druggies standing on the street corner, and there were some really nice hotels like the DoubleTree Hotel, and I was just like, they didn't have time to build all of this. I haven't been gone that long. It takes months and sometimes years to build these buildings, and literally it was the mirror universe, the underworld. And so in the underworld, your ego is supreme. It has a very, very strong influence on your life, and it gives to you with a string. It gives to you with a condition. And so you think, oh, someone's being so nice to you and they're giving you a gift, but in some way they take from you or they harm you in return for that gift. And so God fixed that, but initially I was harmed, and I didn't understand why. I didn't understand what was happening, because I wasn't given a manual, and many times, as I have said before, I wouldn't learn about what was happening to me until after it had happened. And it was like 6 months later, I would suddenly come across a random book in a bookstore, and it would like have the answer. And I was like, oh, thank you, okay, now I know what that's about. And so my experience has really been sink or swim in the beginning. Now that I have this very strong connection to Jesus and he can talk to me telepathically, then that influence is far less. And also I have been given abilities or powers to fight back, to harm them. Like Kali, the destroyer, I can destroy them or the planet. I can close businesses and have people removed from their jobs and all of that if they're unkind to me. So, and a number of other powers I'm not going to get into, but those have played out and been very useful. The casting out of demons, that is a standard gift in this realm. When you awaken Kundalini, each person is given the ability to do that as a protective measure when you are traveling through the cosmos, or specifically the underworld, your subconscious. So that is another dynamic of Kundalini, which is interesting because in the mirror universe, then people are opposite. So my example is like, say your cousin is pre-Kundalini, pre-fall. Your cousin is athletic and dynamic and a type A personality, go-getter, and after the fall, when you go into your subconscious, then your cousin may become like a couch potato, lazy, unmotivated, and completely the opposite of what you knew them to be like. And so it gives you a very different perspective of people and life, and it can be a little disturbing, especially if people that, like your parents, in my pre-Kundalini life, I just saw them as my parents, as people, living their life and having a family. But after Kundalini, they're like the ego and super ego, and sometimes they have not been kind at all. So that's another dynamic of awakening Kundalini, is falling into your own subconscious and then doing battle with the subconscious, and then literally resurrecting, rising out of your subconscious back into the world again, or to heaven, depending on how high they raise you. And so a third random topic I wanted to share this morning was creativity, artistic expression. I think it was Pablo Picasso who said, art washes away from the soul the dust of everyday life. And I thought that was really great. I have it in one of my photography gallery shows someone had written. And it really is important. We work, and it's important to work and earn a living and contribute to the society in a positive way, and to do your job to the best of your ability. But you also have to play. As I have shown, God plays in the cosmos, He plays in nature, and it's really important that you take time and play. And one way of playing is to be creative, whether it is photography or painting or drawing or poetry or knitting a scarf or dance. Whatever your creative expression is, it's a gift from God, and you need to enjoy it and make time for it. And it's very, very good for your psyche. It's very healthy to keep you a well-balanced human being. So those are a few topics that I was reminded of this morning, and that I felt that was important to share. So I hope you have a beautiful day. Thank you so much, and I will talk with you again soon.